and welcome to Aspen Affairs, the public affairs show from the Aspen Chamber Resort Association. I'm your host, Debbie Braun, President and CEO of ACRA. You're watching Election 2024, Informed and Empowered, our series on this fall's election, where we highlight voter resources, share key election information, and break down the issues you'll find on your ballot. You can learn more and watch all the episodes online at aspenchamber.org/elections. Today's guest is Pitkin County Commissioner Patti Clapper. Patti, you're also a member of the ACRA board, just in case you forgot. While voters will be asked 2 questions focused on our local airport this election, Patti's been working on the national and state level to ensure environmental improvements can be made here and nationwide. Welcome, Patti.
Thanks for having me, Debbie.
You've been very busy, a lot of travel.
I've been very busy, even traveling, but also just at home. It's been a busy, busy year.
It has been. You know, Patti, this summer you attended the National Association of Counties annual conference and advocated for several climate-forward initiatives in the aviation space. Can you kind of tell me what those were, or tell our...
Yeah, I want the public to be aware that I went to Tampa Bay the middle of July. I sacrificed for my community. Talk about an extreme weather change, but it was a great trip. It was very short. I went back to the National Association of Counties, or NACO's, annual meeting, and I presented 2 issues. They have a bunch of policy committees. This is their policy setting meeting, annual. And then I presented one to the Transportation Steering Committee, and that was on aeronautical revenue use for climate initiatives for use off-site. Right now, federal law does not allow airports to use revenues earned on an airport to use them off-site for, even if they're associated with airport uses. And the other policy that I submitted was Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee, and it was on a very controversial issue called a carbon fee or carbon tax, where you could actually have revenues come in from the use of airplanes coming in and out of our airport. We withdrew that initiative because it wasn't ready yet to be presented at the national level. So I'm going to be working on that to see if there's some common language or dialogue that we can continue on with that, because that fee or tax would give the airport a source of revenue to hopefully be able to use off-site.
Oh, okay. How do you see using aeronautical revenue for off-site climate initiatives benefiting Pitkin County specifically?
Well, it would be great, because in order to meet our climate action goals at the airport, it's not just about cleaner planes. It's about the infrastructure that exists on the airport, such as the old buildings that have a huge impact on your greenhouse gases. But so it would also help us to create a partnership regionally with other counties to perhaps either a big solar farm somewhere, or which we don't have room for in our airport, or a sustainable aviation fuel refinery, which we are actually working on, if you want me to fill you in more on that. But those kind of green actions that are small, boundaries of our airport would not allow us to do on site.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, the geographical constraints of our airport property, like what were some of the off-site climate initiatives that Pitkin County would be able to pursue? Solar, you said?
Solar, geothermal, hydro, sustainable aviation fuels, etc. But, we're not alone in this. There's other small, especially in rural mountain communities, resort communities that just don't have a lot of land around your airport.
Yeah. Well, Pitkin County has long been committed to environmental responsibility. Thank you. How does this recent resolution further the county's goals for reducing carbon emissions at the airport?
Well, right now there's also a level of discussion going on at the state for sustainable aviation fuels. That's a key thing. We're doing a feasibility study right now. We got some state funding to pursue that. We've had some monies come from Mesa County, and we're talking with Eagle County and Gunnison and our neighboring counties to try and really move that forward. And it would really help with our environmental goals here in Pitkin County, but with our neighbors, because as we know, a lot of those things don't stop at county boundaries.
Right. Well, given Pitkin County's leadership on this issue, does that influence other counties or federal government when it comes to aviation-related climate projects? Do you have that sway or that pull?
Well, what's huge is we've taken the lead with me going to NACO, and there were other members of boards of commissioners throughout Colorado in the rooms, supporting in the room, and glad that Pitkin County brought this forward, because we've been talking about the ability to use revenues off-site for a while, and you have to change federal law to do that. So you need to start gathering your support at home, and the federal government likes to see not just partnerships within your own region, but partnerships around the country.
Okay.
So to be able to introduce an item like this at a National Association of Counties, which had great representation from across the country, was a huge step. And looking at being able to stand on Pitkin County's history of environmental actions and activity was huge.
I can only imagine. What's the next step?
Next step is I'm going to Washington.
Out of
Patty's
Florida.
going to Washington.
Patty's headed to Washington.
I'm going to Washington in March. The National Association of Counties does a legislative session where they have a lot of conversations with Congress and with other committees, with FAA, Department of Transportation. So I'm going back there to work with NACO to further this policy, this possible solution to our ability to use our funds off-site at a national level, find Congress persons' support, committee support, to see where we can go. And also, since there will be members of boards of county commissioners or supervisors from around the country there, that allows me the opportunity to work with them to see if we can really start to build that momentum for national support. Because it would have to go through a federal action, congressional action, to either add it to the FAA bill or legislation that controls FAA's actions, or to possibly see if we can get an amendment to come through sooner, which would allow us to really start working on these environmental issues.
And what's that timeline look like if all goes
Years.
still
It
away?
takes a long time. The last time I
does.
went to Congress, it was a bill was 5 pages, and it took 5 years. I have 2.5 years, 2 years and 3 months actually left in office, and I plan to get it done by then. So I'm going to be working on it.
Is there anything that the local community can do to help support this?
Well, what would be great is if we had approval for an airport layout plan here at our own airport, which has a wide variety of environmental climate action issues addressed within the airport layout plan. And that would solidify our ability, I think, to garner support both congressionally and through counties around the country by saying, we have a plan, we need to use these funds to move that plan forward.
And if I'm correct, the updated ALP, Aspen Layout Plan.
Airport layout.
Sorry, Pitkin County. Airport Layout Plan is submitted currently, and we're just waiting for its approval.
Right, we submitted it a few weeks, months ago.
Okay.
We are expecting it at any time with bated breath.
Great.
To move forward, and then that gives us a concrete direction to start pursuing, number one, financing.
Okay.
Because we have this deadline that's looming in order to submit applications for funding. We have to submit them by July of 2025, or there's 2 forms of funding that goes away. Goes into the black hole in Washington, and our opportunities are gone. As far as the infrastructure bill and the ARPA bill from the federal level. And so we need those funds in order to do all of the things the community wants us to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Patti, the local ballot initiatives are talking about the home rule charter. So let's say the ALP, the amended one, is accepted. Do these ballot measures change that at all?
Well, if the county does have to go out for another vote, it could postpone our ability to apply for federal funds.
Okay.
And that would be critical in our ability to do the positives that are in the airport layout plan.
Yeah.
The positive things that we know the community supports, but we need the funding to do. We don't have the ability as the county raise the monies that are needed, bonding capacity, or any monies that are generated within the airport now won't be enough to fulfill what the community wants.
And I just have what I think is a simple question, and I hear this from a lot of people inside my friend group a lot, like, why don't we just do the terminal first? Because that doesn't, everyone, we're all in agreement that the terminal needs some definite TLC and some upgrades. So why can't we do that?
Well, it's a good question, because that's where I wanted to go. Let's get that terminal done.
Yeah.
Except FAA says you need to start working on the runway before you can start working on the terminal. I don't know if it's a matter of trust. They say, if you get your terminal, will you still do your runway? So they want to fund it as the whole plan, not just piecemeal or parcel it out.
Okay.
So we'd have to start moving on a runway in order to start the process of applying for funds, et cetera, for a terminal. And we have some great opportunities with a new terminal, just as we do with multimodal transportation to and from the airport would be huge for the community.
I think so. I spent a lot of time on the visioning committee. I've watched you, the county commissioners, put forth a very robust outreach program. You've invited everyone to be a part of the conversation. And I am very much looking forward to having a conversation about upgrading the county and the city's infrastructure. Bridges and airport, these things are so incredibly important to Aspen and all of Pitkin County. And from what I understand, trying to bet against technology or bet against evolution is never really a bet you want to be on the wrong side of. So I think when we look at that airport, there's newer, better technology out there. There's a possibility of this connection, the multimodal connection at the airport to get actual visitors off the road and onto another type of transportation. So I would just really ask our community to pay very close attention, to go and do their research, to check everything out. But really what I want people to understand is, do you use the airport? How does that affect you? So many of the conversations recently have been about fleet mix and size and very technical questions, but I think we have to kind of go into the heart a little bit. I use the airport, and when my father was very ill, I had to take a flight directly out of that airport, and I felt so lucky. When my daughter was very sick and had to be airlifted to Denver, we had to use that airport to get to her quickly. We're very remote here, and I think having a state-of-the-art, a safe and reliable airport. So I would just ask the Pitkin County residents, do you use the airport? I mean, people say, well, I don't, it's too expensive. But you can get a flight to LA for under $400, a direct flight. So I don't know if it's as expensive as everyone wants it to be. And I would just think we need to start thinking about how do we utilize that airport and what do we want to see that future look like. So I really do commend the work that you're doing on a national, state, and local level. Good luck in your next 2 years and some odd days. And I just want to thank the Pitkin County residents. Thank you for watching this episode of Aspen Affairs, Election 2024, Informed and Empowered. I'm Debbie Braun, President and CEO of the Aspen Chamber Resort Association. You can watch all of these episodes or really just learn more about the local election and check your voter registration online at aspenchamber.org/elections. Thank you, GrassRoots TV, for your support. Until next time, stay informed and make your voice count.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.